What's up YouTube, this is Joe from Zephyr War Games, and as you can see from the little fireball on top, we are doing the Kuribo deck profile. This is obviously post Brothers of Legend, where we got all the brand new Kuribo Brothers support within that set, which really gives the oomph to the Kuribo deck as a whole. In terms of the pure playstyle, it now has an inbuilt boss monster in the forms of Babylon, who gets at the bare minimum all the way up to 3k, which isn't very impressive, but in terms of Kuribos, it is pretty impressive. But I did try to implement another boss monster. I'll also explain what I'm going to be doing in terms of like updating this deck in terms of a brand new build as I get through it, because even though the spell card, the 5-star Twilight, says they can't be used for tribute summons, you can actually use all 5 Kuribo Brothers for tribute summons, and I'll explain that as I get through the profile. So, before I get to this, if you enjoy, give us a like and subscribe down below. Ding that notification bell, because obviously if you enjoy a person's content here on YouTube, you don't want to miss out on that content, and that notification bell helps prevent that. And all of that is greatly appreciated, and thank you guys so much for doing so. So, with all that said and done, let's get into this Kuribo deck profile. This build is a more pure focused variant. I'm trying to use more of the Kuribo stuff in terms of this particular build. Though I did try to implement another boss monster for the main deck, as opposed to just having all your boss monsters in the extra deck. And so I'll get to that as I get through. Starting off with Kuribo himself, we are playing 3 copies of Kuribo. The deck is focused around Kuribo, so we want to try and maximize the number of Kuribos that we personally can use. If you really want to, you can just drop it down to 1, because you just get access to this through 5-star Twilight. But the fact that we can always have a target for our multiply spell, giving us even more resources for link summons, it does set up a lot of nice plays that you can do within the deck. So that's why I want to maximize on Kuribo himself. We are playing 2 copies of Green Kuribo. I'm not playing the level 10 or level 9, because I just don't think they're that great, in all fairness, especially if in terms of level 10, how much resource you have to put into them is like literally a 4-card play that just can hopefully wipe the board, but it has to only wipe out attack position monsters, so it's not that great. But we're using Wing Kuribo as a form of another target for Flute Summoning Kuribo in terms of a more defensive play. And now for the Kuribo Brothers, we're playing 1 Kuriba, 1 Kuribe, 1 Kuribi, 1 Kuribo, and 1 Babylon. In terms of like the entire Kuribo Brothers package in forms of monsters. I'm only playing 1 of each because all the support summons from pretty much everywhere, which is just so handy for the deck. It means you don't actually have to play multiple copies of each. Yes, if they do like DD Crow, Call by the Grave, one of them gets banished, it does really suck, because then essentially the whole play is just stopped. But I'm trying to minimize on the amount of bricks that I have in the deck, and these guys don't do so much on their own. The stuff that they do is very restrictive in the forms of like how it can be used and how it can be played. Babylon, though, by the way, is the way that you can actually use the brothers as tribute fodder, and so I will put the Twilight here so I can explain that how this works. So firstly, let's get into the actual brothers themselves. So Kuriba, they're all the same Kuribo stats. I'm not going to go through it, and they're all treated as a Kuribo card. When this card or another Kuribo monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can summon 1 monster with 300 attack and 200 defense from your deck, except Kuriba. You can use this effect Kuriba once per turn. You contribute this card you control and 1 each bee, bow, bear, bow from your hand and or field summon Babylon from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So literally, this is how you get into Babylon, and the fact that it summons from anywhere, meaning that it's just constantly looping, and you'll see how it all works. Kuribo. Quick effect, you can discard this card and target Kuribo monster you control. It gains 1500 attack. You contribute this card you control and 1 each Kuriba, Bay, Bow, or Bow, Boo or Bow from your hand or field, and summon Bandit from your deck or grave. Then add a Kree Bandit from your deck or grave to your hand, then immediately discard resolves normal summon fiend monster from your hand. The fact that it adds and then normal summons means you can actually trigger Kree Bandit's effect. We're not playing Bandit because Bandit doesn't actually do anything in the deck for this deck. So we're not playing the Bandit. When Kuribo, when this card or another Kuribo you control is destroyed by battle, you can add a spell or trap from the deck to your hand that lists the card Kuribo in its text. You can use this effect of Kuribo once per turn. And once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack while you control another Kuribo monster, you can change the attack of all monsters you control to 0 until the end of this turn. And if you do, negate that attack. We're not really going to use any of these effects in all personally. And then Kuribo. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard a card and add one Kuribo from your deck to your hand, except Kuribo. Kuribo monster, except Kuribo. And then once per turn quick effect, you can discard one trap card and target face-up monster opponent controls. It loses 1500 attack until the end of this turn. You can use that effect if you want to. This is probably the one I'll use the most. I'll bring all the Kuribos, use Kuribo, ditch a trap card I don't need. So if you wanted to, you could play traps that activate in graveyard or can be used in the graveyard. So things like Lost Wind and things along those lines. And then you can then make your Kuribabylon thanks to Kuribo or Kuriba, and then start beating over opponent's monsters. And speaking of Kuribabylon, the main boss monster in terms of the Kuribo monsters themselves, he's a level 5, 1500 attack and 1000 defense effect fiend monster. Gains 300 attack and defense for each Kuribo monster you control and in your graveyard. You can use one of the following effects of Kuribabylon once per turn and only once that turn. So the fact that you get all the 5 Kuribos brothers, so he already starts at 15, he's going to gain additional 15, so he goes up to 3k, which is very nice. And if you used Kuribo previously, he can then start beating over opponent's monsters. If you have 5 or more monsters in your graveyard than your opponent, you can special summon this card from your hand, so he has an inherent special summon in his own right, which is pretty nice, so you don't actually have to use Kuribo to get him out. And then during your main or battle phase, you can return this card to your hand, and if you do, special summon 5 monsters, 1 Bar, Bee, Boo, Bear, and Bow from your hand and or graveyard in attack position, which is very, very nice. And then when we get to 5-star Twilight, if the only monster you control is a level 5 monster, you contribute that monster special summon 5 monsters, 1 Bar, Bee, Boo, Bear, and Bow from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, but they cannot be tributed for tribute summon. You can only activate 1 5-star Twilight per turn. So, Joe, how are you going to use these monsters for tribute fodder? If you guys haven't already noticed, I'm pretty sure you have because you're all smart people. When you activate 5-star Twilight tributing your 5 monsters, you get your 5 brothers. You then use Bar to get out Kuribabylon, but then use Kuribabylon's effect to bounce them back to hand and get the brothers back out. It's Twilight, as far as I know, it's Twilight's effect that prevents them from being tribute summoned. Since they're now summoned by Kuribabylon's effect, they can now all be used for tribute fodder. That doesn't really come into effect personally in this particular build, but in the build I'm going to be working on, which is utilizing Kuribo, and this is also given to me by Dale, utilizing the Kuribos with the Poker Knights, and because I'm using Poker Knights, I have to use the Egyptian gods as well, so expect that at some point in the future. I'm going to be working on that. It seems like a lot of fun theory wise. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. If I can make it so that Kuribos and Poker Knights make the best god deck, that'd be brilliant. So that's it for the Kuribo brothers. I'm going to put the 5-star back. For the other Kuribo support I'm playing is Kuriborn, 3 of it. I kind of want to get 2 more ultras, so just because it looks very nice. Kuriborn is your monster reborn of the deck, which is very, very nice in terms of an actual Kuribo monster. At the end of the battle phase, you can discard this card and target 1 monster in graveyard. It was destroyed by battle and sent there this turn, special summon. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from the graveyard and target any non-Kuribo monsters in your graveyard and special summon. The fact that this can also just get back all of your Kuribo brothers if your Kuribabylon gets beaten, it's very, very nice. So I do like to play 3 of that. And the last of the Kuribos I'm playing is Rainbow Kuribo, just because it's another inherent Kuribo that just protects you from battle. So I'm not playing any of the others. I don't think any of the others do much for the deck as a whole. So I do like the one Rainbow Kuribo. Moving on, for the level 5 choice I'm playing in the deck is Link Slayer. I think Link Slayer is a very nice card for the deck. The fact that you can just ditch dead Kuribo brothers out of your hand, bring them all out with 5-star Twilight, meaning that Link Slayer and Twilight is like a pop 2 back row plus 5 monsters, which is very, very strong. So I do like Link Slayer in terms of that. And for the main, for the other boss monsters I want to implement in the deck is Plasma. I think Plasma for a Kuribo deck in terms of like a pure variant is very strong. The fact that you can get out all 5 Kuribos, tribute 3 of them. For Plasma, the fact that Plasma is a special summon and not a tribute summon means it gets over 5-star Twilight's lockout effect. And then you can use the other 2 to make any Link monsters you want, like maybe like 2 Link Kuribos if you really wanted to. Meaning that Plasma has 2 battle protections, which is very, very strong. And so I've gone for Plasma just for that blanket effect negation. Now the next 2 cards to move on to the spells, I'm waiting for them to be delivered in the post. But this is the brand new spell card called D-Force. That's it. So what D-Force is that it is a continuous spell which reads, you can add, basically reads, you can add a Plasma from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Plasma on the field is unaffected, it pretty much can't be destroyed or targeted by opponent's card effects. It can attack twice, but and it also gets 100 attack for each monster in the graveyards, which makes Plasma very big, very beefy, and very strong for hard for your opponent to get over with, especially since Plasma already is a one-sided skill drain. The only downside is that it does lock you out from drawing during your draw phase. So you do hope that you can win, or if you establish enough so that you can win in the following turns once you play D-Force. But the fact that we can now use a spell to grab our boss monster in the deck, so that when we establish our Kuribo board, we're not waiting for our boss monster to arrive. Moving on to the Kuribo spells, there's 3 copies of Flute of Summoning Kuribo. I've seen people drop this down now that we have 5-star Twilight. I think that's a mistake in my personal opinion. The fact that it always have a rotor for your Kuribo, which means you always have a way to get to your multiply target, is very, very strong. So I do like still to play 3 copies of Flute of Summoning Kuribo. The brand new 5-star Twilight, we're playing 3 of this. This is like just an amazing card. The fact that it's just like this plus a level 5 is just 5 bodies on board, which is just absolutely insane. And as Dale pointed out to me, this plus a level 5 is a 6 material Zeus, which is just bonkers. It's just like 3 board vibes. Absolutely insane. So we're definitely playing 3 copies of 5-star Twilight. The last of the rotor spells is 1-1 for 1. You're playing a deck full of level 1, so it's an easy way to get to that. 3 copies of Multiply. I still love Multiply in the deck. It's just because, you know, you're just getting so much advantage out of a single card. It's just absolutely insane. So I do like to still play Multiply in the deck. 1 copy of Detonate just to blow up boards, and 1 copy of Berserker Crush just to make Wing Kuribo that little bit of a boss monster in his own right. 1 copy of Instant Fusion is another easy way to get a level 5 on board, which is just very, very strong. 1 copy of Avarice, shuffle lots of your extra deck back into your deck. You burn through your extra deck so easily thanks to Multiply plays and Brothers plays. So being able to shuffle them all back and draw 2 is very, very good. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, it's Monster Reborn. And then moving on to the traps, I'm playing Double Warning and Triple Convulse. Just simple, easy, budget-friendly cards that you can just play in your deck. That these can be whatever you want. It's completely up to you. As I mentioned earlier, so I just want to have a little drink there. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you can play traps that work in the graveyard. So again, like Lost Winds, so that they can just reset themselves. So you can synergize with one of the Kuribo brothers. That's completely up to your personal preference. Moving on to the extra deck now, it's very like just whatever you like utility cards that you can just play. Something I definitely play is obviously your Instant Fusion target. and your Lyrilless assembled Nightingale, and Zeus is your 6 material play. You deal a lot of damage with Nightingale by attacking directly, and then you just slap a Zeus on top of her afterwards, which gives you a 3 board wipes. And then I just gone for like easy budget boss monsters that you can play, like Bolo, just to out threats and just steal them. Bowl Sword to just like do some simple OTKs. Topologic Bomber Dragon. A brother's play, you can make a Bomber Dragon under an IP, so it's strongly protected. And then you can have a level 1 on board still in play, which means that you can have a Link, Kuribo, and Graveyard. So Bomber Dragon is going to get 1 board wipe off the Link Kuribo. And if you set things like Flute of Summoning Kuribo, you're getting another board wipe off your Bomber Dragon as well. So you got some good Bomber Dragon synergy there. Zero Boros, similar play. Except you're only doing it once, whereas Bomber Dragon, you're nuking the board at least twice if you have the right hand. It's very, very strong. And obviously Apollosa, because, you know, when you can establish a lot of board presence, you can just make an Apollosa with like 4 negates, which is very, very strong. For Link 3, I've gone for Triple Burst and a Nightmare Unicorn. I think Triple Burst is really good this format now because of Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer going around. If your opponent plays like poorly and activates the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer during the battle phase, you can use Triple Burst to negate its revival effect, which is very, very strong. Meaning that boss monster they're not going to get back, at least very soon. Unicorn is Unicorn, and obviously Nightmares, we've got Phoenix as well. The IP Masquerader, I mentioned earlier, just because it takes 2 monsters that are just non-links, meaning that you can actually use tokens if you want, which is very, very good. And then you have obviously your Kuribo brothers as well. And our only Link one in the deck, and not just because of namesake, it is 3 copies of Link Kuribo. The reason why I'm playing Link Kuribo is just because it's just the best Link one for this deck as a whole. You can play a Link Spider if you wanted to, but I think Link Kuribo just does so much for the deck. The fact that once you make it once, it's in the graveyard, you're constantly recurring it, so you'll always have a Link Kuribo on board. Meaning that in terms of like your opponent beating over your board, they're going to struggle because you'll just constantly get a Link Kuribo back. So it's just absolutely annoying for your opponent to deal with. And that, guys, is the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you're playing in terms of your Kuribo decks. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And stay tuned because I will be working on the Kuribo Poker Knight God deck, and just to see how it works. Even if it isn't fantastic, I'll probably at least post a build on here just so that you guys can take the base skeleton and see if you can make it work if it doesn't work. But obviously if it doesn't work fully, I will mention it within the video and say like, this needs a lot of work, let's all work on it together as like a Zephyr Wargames community and see if we can make the ultimate Yugi deck in terms of Poker Knights, Kuribos and Gods. And so that'd be very, very fun. So as always, guys, like, comment and subscribe. Till next time, as always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.